Welcome to our Light Body Live this week. On this channel, what we're wanting to do is to provide a framework of development for our practices of developing our energy system, developing awareness and consciousness, and organizing the practices that a lot of us are involved in that are also connected to these topics. Practices like yoga practice, a practice like qigong practice, meditation practice, they're all invoking different types of reactions within the system, the body system, the organs, the glands, the body chemistry, but also the energy system for sure is being triggered by these practices. And a lot of times it causes like random reactions or tends to cause an isolation of a particular aspect. And what we find is that it's a lot smoother and a lot more integrated if we see all of these components as a unified system that's developing and evolving together at the same time. And we find that when we work with one aspect, at a certain point, it will seek to integrate and synthesize with another aspect because, as I said, it's an evolving system. So we're wanting to present this framework, this kind of blueprint, where we can learn the different components and also work with processes that integrate them, understand the effects, and understand how to regulate, and understand how to fully utilize the new possibilities that they offer to our life system. So the system as a whole, the components mainly are the outer body, this energy body. There's a lot of different words and terms for it: outer body, energy body, even the aura is a term. And the outer body has some unique characteristics that can make it a lot more dynamic and understandable and also usable even in our day-to-day life. And that is that it's bioplasmic. So if we look at the physical body, we know that the cell has protoplasm. Now there's two different kinds of protoplasm in the cell. There's a nucleoplasm in the nucleus and a cytoplasm between the nucleus and the outer membrane. But overall, it's kind of a protoplasm. And the protoplasm continues all throughout our human body. And it also gives this characteristic of a plasmic quality to this energy body. So we can say it's a bioplasmic body. It also has the characteristics of the membrane in that, the bioplasmic field has this quality of the membrane in that it's plasmic and it's semi-permeable. And it has semi-permeability, so it can adjust to different situations, and it can adjust to its need to take in and to prevent the intake. And there you could call it selective permeability. So this quality is there, and as we develop ourselves, this quality may be reacting to practices and causing good reactions, but also creating vulnerability unless we awaken to it and learn how to regulate that. We can regulate the permeability and the selectivity of that membrane according to our developing situation. So these are processes and exercises that we present throughout the different courses and the different live streams that we are doing. And as I said, it organizes our development into a whole body, a whole system of practice. It's a system of practice, but it also gives the possibility for individual awareness. In other words, you discover unique things to yourself, not just what the exercise is saying, but as you utilize it, you notice unique things that you can be creative with. So it gives you that possibility for creation, for variation, and not just always having to practice this hard structure, but it's very liquid and fluid. The other components that we're very familiar with are chakras, and there's a lot of information about chakras. And I think we have discovered some very unique ideas about how to regulate the chakras and to utilize them for physical, emotional, and mental health, and for spiritual development. They have all those different types of input with the chakras. Kundalini is a very sensitive aspect of our emerging energy body and energy system. For the most part, it's dormant, but as we do different practices, it starts to release. So usually it's kind of a low grade releasing, so we adapt gradually to it. But occasionally there will be a bigger level of release, and that can cause some disorientation. It can exacerbate different physical problems that are going on. Of course, it will also accentuate positive qualities as well. But we need to be able to identify that and know what's going on rather than just to be, lost in something that's unknown. It gives us a way to identify and to define what's happening as we seek naturally to develop ourselves, to grow, and to become more awake and conscious. So the Kundalini is a very specialized topic. And when these different components, the outer body, bioplasmic body, chakras, the Kundalini, and its interplay with the physical body, and as I mentioned in our last live stream, we are developing something that we could call the abstract brain. And it's an interface between our physical brain and a collection of energy patterns that are developing outside the cranium that give us the ability to perceive and understand and function in the abstractness of reality. So the light body then emerges as these components of the outer body, chakras, and Kundalini synthesize, then they give birth to the light body. And the birth of the light body is a very big topic within itself. The light body, you can also say, is a light body vehicle because it gives us the possibility to travel in different dimensions, to move in different dimensions. So we can compare this to when we were in the womb. Physically, we had a very limited range of movement. And then as we developed outside after birth, we have a much greater range of movement by walking, by vehicles, by flying, by ship, however, but we have range of motion that drastically increases. And similar to that, logarithmically, as we develop the light body vehicle, we have that much quantum change in our range of movement, not only linear, but also multidimensional movement. And this is a very interesting topic that we will cover as we go into the different light body live sessions. So mastering the basics, always remembering to stay grounded in the basics, I think is very important. And as I mentioned in previous light body live sessions, that what is basic when you first learn it can become an advanced practice once you've utilized it. And it becomes an advanced practice in the sense of that you know how to work with it and you know how to get more and more subtle effects and results with it. So I just wanted to mention that. And one of the most basic things is the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. And we've talked about this before previously. It's connected to what doctors and scientists call the relaxation response. And that is causing the repair of the body, the regeneration of the body, the rebuilding of energy within the system. After we expend energy, then we have this time where the body needs to rebuild. If we're in a state of stress and tension, what happens is this rebuilding phase gets inhibited. So we expend energy, we break down the body, but we don't rebuild it. So it's very important just for basic well-being that we activate the parasympathetic We can do that through rest, relaxation, and we can do that through meditation practices and breathing practices. Breathing exercises are very good for relaxing, and just adjust our mental state to recognize that there is stress and let go of the forces, the thoughts that are creating the stress. It can be anxiety, it can be overwhelmed, and you learn to identify it and let go of it. And it releases this tension state and allows the parasympathetic to work. So that's one of the more basic practices, very important practices to continue. And all of the light body exercises and processes generally all contribute to the development, the strengthening, and the activation of parasympathetic responses within the physical body, but also extended out into the outer body. And that's why it's also very important to understand this connection, relationship, that just for general well-being, the light body practices are very potent, very effective. So we talked last week about the melatonin and serotonin cycle. And I wanted to talk more about that because people have asked questions about it. One question was, how much do I need to take of melatonin to shut off my mind at night and to be able to sleep? And so I could say that, well, that depends on the individual system. I could say this many milligrams or that many milligrams. But if the body is in good condition and we allow it to regenerate, the body knows itself the unique quantities and qualities that it needs to produce. But I could even say that all melatonin is not produced equally every day in terms of its actual chemistry. Now, it has the general chemistry makeup, but if the body's going to alter it slightly in order to satisfy the need in that moment. The other thing that's really essential to understand, and then some other connections that will lead us back to the parasympathetic nervous system, is that serotonin transforms into melatonin. And serotonin is 90% or more created within the gut, within the intestinal tract. So we can say that sleep quality and melatonin production and quality is related to how healthy is our gut, our intestinal quality. So the intestinal function is activated also by parasympathetic. Our absorption, our elimination, the breaking down of food for digestion, all that is activated through different parasympathetic innervation. As I mentioned last week, that when we chew our food, the trigeminal nerve is activated, which is a parasympathetic oriented nerve. And when the trigeminal nerve is activated, it connects to the vagus nerve, which is the largest parasympathetic nerve in the body. So when we're masticating our food, and we should relax when we eat, we should be in a relaxing atmosphere, then it triggers the parasympathetic response that then goes into the chest area, and then it ultimately goes down into the gut area, and it branches out. And in a way, the branching out of the vagus nerve in the abdominal region is very similar to the branching out of the trigeminal nerve in the facial region. And it has a very similar network, which I'm going to get to when we do a process today. So the gut health, we can really work with that as part of our daily awareness and practice. And so the first thing I'd like to just say about it is diet, the quality of the food that we're eating, the quality. Now, there's so many different dietary ideas, and I think it's important for each person to discover what's working for them. There's the ones that are based on blood type, body type. There's the macrobiotic idea, which is based on seasonal eating and also eating according to our physiology. And so finding the right blend of dietary practices. But what I would like to say is underlying all of those, what seems to be very important is the quality of the food. And when we're eating, to eat in a relaxed atmosphere, and the chewing, which activates this parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic causes the secretion of different enzymes that are breaking down the food. It activates the stomach action. It's the small intestine, which is absorbing, the large intestine, which is eliminating. So the whole process, all the way through, is parasympathetic, and it's also triggered in the beginning through the chewing and the relaxing. Fasting is another thing that can be very important for recovering and maintaining gut health. If we're eating properly, then we're not going to be craving to eat all the time. As a matter of fact, the more you organize your eating for your personal body type and your needs, then the less you're going to actually want to eat. So if you're always craving food, it's a good indication that the balance is off somehow. There's something that needs to become more regulated. So there's a lot of different ideas about fasting as well. Fasting is also a really good practice when you don't feel well, is to just give yourself a break from eating physical food. When we fast, whether it's intermittent fasting for 12 hours, 16, 18 hours, or it's fasting for a day or two, we can compensate for what the body needs through breathing. Breathing is also called prana, and that's life force. We take in a certain kind of energy when we breathe. So we learn those breathing exercises, not only activating the parasympathetic nervous system, but also taking in this quality of life force, or what the Chinese call qi. The other thing that we can do on a regular basis, whether we're fasting or not, but particularly helpful when we're fasting, is to go out and let natural light bombard our body. The most effective time is at sunrise and sundown, but any time is really good. And we absorb light, and the body takes light, which is an energy, and transmutes it into different qualities within our body. As an example, electrolytes are being formed when light comes in through the eyes. Vitamin D is formed when light comes in through the skin. So that shows us that light and air, if we absorb it, can also be changed into usable substances within the system. And this is going to help to promote this energy cycle where we break down energy, but then we also give the body the possibility to rebuild it. And we talked about how melatonin, we know that it's good for sleep, and now they're discovering it's very important also for the immune system. I think that many people know that when you're not sleeping well, then your immune system tends to be weaker. And when you sleep well, then you tend to be less susceptible to getting sick, to getting colds. So there's a lot of different aspects to the melatonin. And as I mentioned in the last Late Body Live, melatonin can be transmuted into other substances that trigger higher states of consciousness, activate pathways of energy that open up and allow us to see that which is normally veiled from our day-to-day awareness. So we have a loop that emerges. The gut health, which is related to the production of serotonin, which also creates a sensation of peacefulness. That's one of the qualities of it. And that circulates through the system, and that it triggers the development of the melatonin. And the melatonin has these different connections as well, including that if the system is healthy at this basic level of the serotonin, then the body will also produce the amount of melatonin and the quality of melatonin that is good for that particular person. So that's getting to the the core aspect of it. Now, utilizing this as a basic practice for well-being, but also for the underlying sensitivities and abilities for doing and recognizing these light body practices, these energy flows within the system that we want to develop the ability to regulate. This whole cycle of the serotonin, melatonin, but also the activation of this trigeminal nerve and the vagus nerve. So one of the things that we talked about was how the sensation is motion. When you feel sensation, there's movement. And when you activate this trigeminal nerve, you'll not only feel the pathway have a sensation, but you'll feel the whole face start to vibrate and to become kind of vibrating and kind of tingling a little bit. It's a pleasant sensation. And then when it activates at the medulla, the vagus nerve, that sensation, that energy travels down and then activates a similar kind of but larger nerve plexus within the abdominal region. And one of the things that you can do to take this practice further is to get the sensation of the face and the head to appear in the abdomen. Now, this is something that you're doing through intention and directing energy with the mind, with your awareness. So I want to do a process with that. And I kind of made a drawing here, and we can use our facial expression and see that appearing also and utilize that in the abdominal region. And it might be a fun way to do it, to bring this kind of vibrating sensation there. Now, when we go down to the abdominal region, at first you may feel like a central area of sensation. It can be anywhere in the abdomen. A little bit below the navel is the usual anatomical location, but I would say that those locations are also liquid. They're not always going to be exactly at the anatomical or structural area. So if it shows up a little lower, a little to the side, that's your starting point. Focus on that and let the sensation grow, and then let it branch out as it does with the face. And before I go into a process, which is similar to what I've done in the previous weeks, but I want to take it a little bit deeper today. I was just wondering if there's any comments or questions so far. Lynn? Sorry, I have this itch on the ends of my nose. I keep seeing it.
Dawn wrote, I love that sense of the facial expression in the abdominal region. It brings a smile and a feeling of contentment.
Okay. Somebody that's used it, that, just sharing their reaction, that's great.
I've been really noticing as I connect into this vagus nerve sensation that I can immediately feel a difference between the right and left side in my chest, like where it wraps and entwines along the heart and the lungs in the chest. Like the left side, I have less of a connection. And then in the solar plexus region, I can feel both sides pretty symmetrically. But then in the abdomen again, like the left side is more vague. So it's nice for me, this vagus nerve work, because I can connect to it almost immediately, some kind of sensation. But then I do notice these differences in different areas of the body. And then as I practice and work with it, the parts that felt vague and not connected do become more clear and active. And then I notice waves of relaxation through my system. And I have been sleeping a lot better for the last few weeks.
Yeah, the two things that are important for our well-being is good quality sleep and good quality elimination. And so you can see how all of what's behind this kind of development is like those basic body needs just being being regulated. It is a good idea to do what Lynn's talking about, and that is when you feel a sensation, if it's strong in one area but absent in another area, utilize your mind energy to move it to that area that's absent or where it seems less present. And the mind is directing the flow of energy. So it will energize that area. It will balance out and create more symmetrical flow of the forces in the face and also in the abdomen. Later on, you can use the same idea when we work with chakras and kundalini channels as well. So the basic, is there another one? Go ahead. Well, why don't you say it, then I'll repeat it.
Tracy wrote, I'm wondering about the habit of some kind of unconscious attempt to bring themselves to the parasympathetic.
Well, it certainly makes you notice that area. So I think that there's a variety of reasons why it could happen like that. Uh, the, the clenching of the jaw and the masseter muscle, which is this large muscle that's related to mastication, has also been identified as the muscle that reacts to anger, rage, and frustration. So it could also be that it's those forces within the body that are looking to or find a way out. You know, when we work with these kind of practices, the parasympathetic type practices, which are infused in all of the light body exercises and processes, that helps to transform the energy of frustration and anger. And some people that studied Chinese medicine know that that's related to the liver. I think it's related to more than just the liver, but that is the classical connection in terms of organs. And when we notice this clenched jaw, and we wake up and we know that we've been clenching, then it shows us that we need to find a way to transform that energy. It's a usable energy. It's an important energy. But if it's clenching like that, it's trapped. If it's trapped within the jaw, and it's trapped within the life system, it's trapped within the relationships, it's trapped within the creative processes of the life. So it can be an important indicator of something that wants to get free, that wants to change. And then we can go to that point. And through the practices that we know, whether it's these or others that you've learned, you can transform that energy. And that's a good indicator when you start waking up and realize that you have not been clenching, and it's more relaxed there. This is one of the most powerful muscles in the body. Pounds per square inch of force. And so it's really important that if you're getting that sensation of clenched jaw, grinding the teeth, that you deal with that not only on the local level as a dentist might, but also in the deeper uh, emotional level, and find out like what is it connected to. And we have plenty of practices to dissipate, transform. When anger and rage is transformed, it becomes patience, it becomes kindness. And that doesn't mean just to other persons, it also means to ourselves, becoming more kind to ourselves, more kind to our past, more forgiving not only of others, but forgiving of ourselves. So this is really a critical point of transformation, and very good to notice.
Margie wrote something. Hi, Margie. She said, I was wondering about that too with the clenching of the jaw. I've heard that grinding and clenching can also be a response to parasites.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah. Certainly, it's a signal from the body. And as with other signals, it can mean various things. And so then it sets us off on a path of discovery. And it can be a combination of things as well. So maybe it's not just one of the components that we're talking about, but can be nutritional, it can be emotional, and it can be, like you said, some invasion of parasites. All right, so I hope that you're enjoying these ideas, and even though some people might think, well, what does that have to do with the light body or chakras? For me, it's a very, very important underpinning of all these practices. And it's just such a pleasure to go through periods of our life where we feel well, we have energy, we have optimism, we have brightness in our outlook. And I think that this basic cycle of sleep, digestion, um, gives us that kind of experience in our waking and sleeping hours. So I highly recommend that, even briefly, every day, every other day, to utilize this kind of practice. And also to remember that it's an option when you are upset, when you are tense and you are in a state of anxiety. Go to this practice and you'll find that some degree of relief takes place. It could be very profound sometimes, and it could be just moderate sometimes. But when you're in a state of anxiety or overwhelm, even a slight relief can feel like a lot and can help to move us forward in what we're trying to do. So we'll start out with taking a deep breath in, and there's a lot of different kinds of breathing exercises. I like to breathe in through the back of the nose and then breathe out. Fill up the abdomen and the chest and the upper chest on the way in. And then let the air go, upper chest, chest, abdomen and pelvic area. Breathing deep. And breathing out. And we'll start out with getting the sensation in this area next to the ears, in the front of the ears, in front of the ear flap called the tragus. You want to open your jaw and press in, and then feel that sensation. And you know that you're connecting your mind and your awareness when the sensation becomes stronger, more penetrating. It may feel like it's penetrating into the head, into the ear canal, spreading around the TMJ, the temporal mandibular joint, into that muscle of the masseter that we talked about. And so when the mind connects to the energy, it spreads, it intensifies, it activates. And as it spreads, you may notice that it spreads throughout the face, the forehead, cheeks, chin. And it's good to let yourself have a gentle smile, lightens the energy of the system. And you can go to the back, under the skull, right in the center, the medulla. You can do a little pressure there, or you don't have to if you just can go there with your mind and through connecting with the mind, which eventually you want to be able to do without pressing. And the tingling, the numb sensation starts to appear. And as you connect the mind, it becomes more intense, more penetrating into the skull, into the back brain. And this is making also a connection between the vagus nerve, the trigeminal nerve, which branches out all throughout the face. And so you may feel like even a sensation of glowing, tingling glow throughout the face. Gentle smile. And from the medulla, you can follow down through the neck into the chest. And there's a lot of branches that then come out from the vagus nerve into the chest cavity. And you may want to stop there for a moment. And you may even notice that the same sensation that was in the face, this branching out, appears in the chest cavity. You can follow the vagus nerve down into the intestinal region. And let the sensation branch out. You can find a focal point there, as I mentioned, maybe a little bit below the navel or anywhere that it appears, and let that focal point spread, penetrate the numb, tingling, vibrating sensation. And really try to notice how it branches out, similar to the face and the head. And allow it to do that in the abdominal cavity, throughout the intestinal tract. And if you like, you can transpose your face with a gentle smile deep into the intestinal region. And what you may notice over time when you talk with people is that the facial expression in general shows the condition of the whole intestinal tract. You can bring your expression, your face there, let it gently smile, let the branches spread all throughout the abdomen, the upper part of the abdominal cavity, the lower part, the sides. In a way, your whole face is there. And you can connect the face and the intestinal region, the trigeminal vibration with the vagus vibration. You may feel that vibration going back to the sacrum as well, sacroiliac joint, vibrating, tingling. You could do this before bedtime, do this before eating, after eating. If you're feeling that numb and tingling sensation vibrating in the face and also in the abdomen, it's pleasant, normally very pleasant, very lightening. And so it feels very comfortable just to relax in the sensation, to bathe in it. To feel your whole body activated by it, relaxed, relaxation response. All right, so let's take a deep breath, and you could continue this as long as you like. And with the out breath, let the eyes open without focus. And the eyes are open without focus, and you can continue to feel the sensation of the face and the head, and the abdominal region and the pelvic region. Come back to clear focus. There you have it. Very good so-called basic practice for well-being and for the development of the light body and its components. Do we have any comments after that? Okay. Do you have anything that you want to add, Lynn?
One wants to write in any feedback in the chat, I welcome you to do that. Or if you have any other questions, we'll wait a few seconds to see if you do. I did also want to encourage everyone who's here that there's a whole series now on YouTube of these Light Body Live episodes that you can go through and listen to again and again, or just jump ahead to the guided process. Saul and I are using this light body work all the time in our lives. It's just permeated through our daily activities. So rather than think of it as this big formal practice you have to do or have to make time for, I also just invite you to start to cultivate the idea that this is a type of entertainment, just like watching a show or going to a movie or going to coffee with a friend. And we're so conditioned towards certain styles of entertainment that might not be that fulfilling or make you feel that good. But we just do it because that's what we think of as entertainment. But next time you go to watch a show or talk to somebody on the phone, I am not saying those things are bad. I do those things and really enjoy them, but start to put on your mind like, oh, I could sit down and do a little bit of traveling inside my own body, being entertained by the story of my own self, and delve in there and access this world of entertainment, energy, and creativity. We do have a few comments that came in. Do you want
Okay.
me to? Somebody wrote, "This is great material. Thank you," but I don't know who it is. Christine Nelson, hi Christine, said, "I love that. I could really feel it and definitely need this. Thanks so much. My sleep and digestion have not been great, and I love this easy way to connect."
You have some external noise going on, so yeah. And then if you do it, you'll also notice how effective it is on the physiological level. It really starts to change quality of sleep, quality of the digestion and elimination. So as an underlying uh, practice to any other kind of practice, meditation practices, yoga practices, creative work of any sort, you'll find that it's really effective. Because when we feel well and we have energy, then we don't mind doing things and things bring us much greater joy and pleasure when we feel like that.
And just another reminder to some people that are listening, if you're enrolled in any of the online light body classes, they're there for you to use again and again. Like it's not really material that is meant to just be used once. It's like learning how to play an instrument or any kind of art form. You can go in and every time you go through listening to an idea or practicing a guided journey, it'll bring you to new depths of connection and experience.
Well, once again, we enjoyed hanging out with our vibrational community, our vibrational family. And until we do this again, which should be definitely in 2 weeks, but maybe next week, because we're going to be down at the ocean. We might try to do something from the ocean. It's a little noisy down there. But one way or the other, we'll see in a couple weeks maximum. And if before that, then it'll be next week. We'll let you know. We'll send out an email. And we wish you a very productive and pleasant time, and that you enjoy yourself till we meet again.